As the storm of 1987 spread chaos across the southeast of England, it also reinstated a sense of order. Animals that had not been seen for 700 years were once again at large in the British countryside. When the trees fell, the fences fell and farmed boar took their chance. And now DEFRA says that 28 years later, there are 1,000 roaming free. What hogwash! The Forestry Commission got into trouble with antis last year when they wanted to cull 500 boar in the Forest of Dean alone. That's half DEFRA's national figure. If there are only a few hundred left, then here are some of them pictured on a trail cam in Sussex. Here's one outside a hospital in Kent, and George Digweed shot 3 the other week, so we've pretty much photographic evidence of every wild pig in Britain. Boar shooters who live in the massive Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire know that the animals are spreading.
I'm wondering whether it hasn't been allowed to, whether it's been allowed to spread too much at the moment, because a lot of the farmers, they don't mind deer, but they don't like wild boar. If you've got it in, as we were cattle farmers at one time and you were making silage, all you need is that dirt to get into silage, which they dug up, is what you can see on the side of the roads, and then you have problems with listeria and that type of thing in cows and sheep.
You couldn't hope to shoot out all the boar in some of Britain's deep dark woods.
One thing you notice about the Forest of Dean is it's very, very big. Somewhere out there are 800 wild boar.
The truth is, DEFRA doesn't know how many there are because it has no reason to. Back in 2008, after years of mucking up wildlife laws from bats to badgers, the government's Feral Wild Boar Action Plan handed over responsibility to landowners. If you have boar on your farm or estate, even garden, it's up to you on how you deal with them. This gave these intelligent and delicious beasts as much protection as a rat, but it also meant that people in the countryside had the choice to manage boar as sensibly as deer, not by law, but we would hope through a sense of what is right. Talking of deer, this is what happens every day of the year on our roads. There are between 40 and 70,000 RTAs, road traffic accidents involving deer, every year in the UK. Then there are those resulting from cattle, sheep and horses.
There are calls to reduce boar numbers after a man died on a motorway swerving to avoid a boar. He was killed by a lorry. But deer killed 10 people on our roads last year. The idea of making a triangular warning sign of a boar is fine, but the fact is our roads are surrounded by wildlife, ready to make a dash for it with potentially tragic consequences.
That said, Derek reckons there will be more accidents in the Forest of Dean caused by boar.
I mean, I can go out the end of our drive and you get cars coming across the chase there at a ridiculous speed, and all you need is one of those wild boar at like 200 pound in weight in front of a car, and you know there is going to be problems with it. But I still like to see the boar, but I think people need to be aware of it and they need to be more careful, and especially in the forest where they're crossing the roads, because I mean the only thing anybody gets behind them or a dog moves them or whatever, and we could be into people getting hurt with it.
Of course, the knee-jerk reaction to this, and a deadly attack by a feral boar on Princess Anne's prize Gloucester Old Spot, is control the boar. But how and why? Push them hard and the evidence shows they breed harder and faster than ever. Shoot them and they run away.
A few years ago they hadn't come this side of St Breville's. Now they've come right the way down through to here. Now we're seeing them going towards Chepstow and that as well. And yes, I think as soon as they're shooting one or two out, I think they're beginning to spread. And
so it's the shooting that's spreading.
I've got a feeling it's whatever. There is some reason why they're moving, because originally they started off, didn't they, over in in the main forest, in the centre of the Forest of Dean, but now they're moving all over the place.
The boar's aggression is another reason some members of the public want them eradicated. We've seen ourselves that boar don't tend to stick around when we're about, but a dog snapping, invading their space may be a game changer.
We've seen a sow with 7 or 8 little ones, and if you go or approach her, she'll move the ones to the side, and she'll I don't think you really want to get too close to her when she's like that, and not when she's got little ones.
If deer had pointy teeth, dog walkers might think twice about letting them bound around woods with no thoughts for other wildlife. It just doesn't stand up as a reason to hit them hard. Astute landowners should be offering shooting rights and managing the population just like deer. Make some money out of them, like Derek does, butchering his boar and taking them round the farmers' markets of Gloucestershire.
We're fortunate, like I say to people when I go out onto the farmers' markets, that living in the forest now, to have wild boar, venison, and we've got our own shoot pheasants, wild duck. We're very fortunate.
All across Europe, it's the responsibility of the hunters to limit crop damage and boar numbers, and if they don't, they suffer. We filmed Max Gottsfried in Germany stalking boar through the crops in his underpants. If he doesn't keep the boar off the farms he has permission over, he'll be fined. Heavily. Tens of thousands of euros, hence the reason for using these extraordinary tactics. Boar may never reach epidemic proportions in the UK because of our fragmented countryside, but we do feel they should be welcomed back and controlled just like deer with a season. They deserve a second chance.